Greetings, my oily hoplites. Are you feeling a little extra Greek? Do you feel like taking a dip in Cocytus, ascending the Olympus, battling mythological migrants, breaking into finer homes, or committing war crimes? Well, you know, the daily Greek things or whatever. Why I ask? Well, because I don't know about you, but I'm currently down bad for some phalanx activities. And the only unironic thing about this review is that I'm absolutely in love with the game that I'm about to talk about. And the game is Apotheon, a 2015 indie game made by Alien Trap. Now, in case if you didn't know, I'm a grand enjoyer of ancient Greek history and mythology, so you could picture the combustion of my olive sack when I saw this trailer. On the surface, it looked like I got it all: a gorgeous art style based on ancient Greek pottery, big oily Greeks poking each other with thick spears, incredible thematic soundtrack, and lots of dead gods. And yet, this game remains extremely unknown and always shadowed by bigger releases of 2015. So let me put my personal bias aside and take a closer look and see if this game is a hidden gem or another generic pick from a sea of thousands of indie games with nothing worth sniffing at. But before we start, comment down the size of your Sarissa pike. When opening the game, experiencing the sick main menu, and starting a whole new adventure, you are first introduced to the circumstances of your current situation. Long story short, Zeus, the patriarch of Olympus, decided that mortal humans are good-for-nothing wage slaves and are a lost cause. So he ordered all of the gods to terminate their blessing subscriptions. Artemis, the goddess of hunt, said no more meat. Demeter, the goddess of harvest, said no more food stamps. And you know what Apollo said? Fuck you, no more sunlight. As you can imagine, the world of mortals has gone to total chaos. And now they fight for the last drop of mummy's grain, making raiding and plundering a daily activity, so I guess nothing really changed. On such note, our hero finds himself waking up from being unconscious, surrounded by blazing flames all around him. As you approach a beautiful friendly face,
Lycandrios, you're still amongst the living. Our watchmen didn't even see their ships through the darkness. These raiders scum will take everything we have.
You learn that not only your village is being turned to ash by a raiding party of outlaws, but also that your character's name is Lycandrios. They couldn't have given him a more badass name than that. You were then given multiple objectives to complete all around the village, with the goal of repelling the greasy naked cavemen back to the waters. This serves as your introduction chapter where you learn the basic mechanics. Let's start with the most important aspect, the combat. The combat in this game is entirely physics-based. The direction in which you swing or poke your schlong is based on your mouse movement. Each weapon has its own hit direction, hitbox, speed, reach, and use. For example, sharp weapons are best for things that are made out of flesh.
Please, can't you just leave us alone?
Where blunt weapons are best for vandalizing living statues. In the game, you have 5 equip slots. 1 is for melee weapons, 2 is for ranged weapons, 3 is for your gadgets and utilities such as bombs, mines, and summons, 4 is your potions, and the Q-bind is your offhand, that being shields or torches. You can jump, crouch, roll, and block. The weapons you find can break, but you can have 1 of each weapon on you at all times, with some exceptions like the spears, which you can hold 5 of. Every single weapon can be thrown too. There are numerous types of weapons and shields. Some are based on real ancient Greek weapons such as the Xiphos and Kopis swords and Doris spears, as well as mythical ones such as the Shield of Ajax. Speaking of the shields, each shield has their own hitbox, which also applies to the enemy using the same shields. You can see the indicator of the area being blocked by the enemy, and if you hit around it, it will still cream your target. You can even grab props and use them as weapons. The enemy AI is surprisingly smart and fun to fight against. Even the lowly human raiders fight like they want to live. They attack, retreat, dodge, block, parry, and even throw their weapons at you. And you can even keep them. There are also a lot of armor pieces in the game for your legs, torso, hands, and head, most of which are hidden away in secret areas. Every time you find a piece, it adds to your total armor amount, so you can then freely customize your looks without losing out on stats. You also get introduced to the crafting system, which allows you to craft potions and gadgets with resources you find scattered across the game. The combat is overall very smooth and fast-paced. You will eventually run into marketplaces where you can upgrade your combat stats, as well as purchase gear. The game also provides you with stealth options, with the usage of assassin dagger and arrows, which one-shot any unaware enemies, as well as invisibility potions to butter up your stealth build. Anyways, back to the beginning of the game. As Lycandrius pillages the pillagers and fights the largest pillager, he reaches the temple of his village and is greeted by none other than Hera herself.
And so, a champion is born, a lone bright ember glowing from within a dying hearth. Arise, my chosen. Arise, Lycandrios.
She updates him on Greek lore, and long story short, she tells Lycandrios that if gods have abandoned mortals and are withholding their powers, why not just have Lycandrius ascend to Olympus, murder the asshole gods, steal their powers, and provide for Earth for yourself? She then gives him 2 options.
I present to you a choice. Ascend Mount Olympus, strip these callous gods of their power, and cast down Zeus from his lofty throne. Or remain here.
Time to choose.
And since we're a true Logade, we of course arise. If you're sitting there wondering, man, why is every game set in ancient Greek mythology it has to end with Greek gods dying? Well, let me remind you why they kinda did it to themselves. You now arrive at Olympian Gates, and the first thing you're greeted with is the option to switch to hard difficulty. And if you aren't a casual gamer, I highly recommend you do that because it makes the game much more challenging and tense, which feels like it was the intended way to play. As you open your world map, you now realize that this game is in fact open world. There are two main hubs of the game. The first was the Agora, which is a big city on lower stage of Mount Olympus, which houses the lesser of the 12 gods. And the second one is Acropolis itself, which houses the major gods. The game gives you a huge world to explore. You can enter any house, any building, find secrets, treasure, interact with NPCs, and genocide the entirety of Olympus.
It's good to see so many guards on patrol. It makes me feel safer.
When I said Nicandrios is the type of dude to exterminate the gods of Olympus to save his village, well, I should have said exterminate everything, because the game allows you to kill anything beyond your village.
Hello there. Nice day for angling.
Every part of Mount Olympus is heavily populated with life of all kind. The Agora, for example, is populated with few human Zeus deemed worthy of ascending and living alongside the gods, as well as the guards who watch over the peace. The hubs diverge into different god realms, such as the underworld of Hades or the hunting grounds of Artemis. Each realm has their own theme and challenges and is populated accordingly. For example, in the hunting grounds, you will run into hunters, nymphs, satyrs, and wild beasts, while in the underworld, you will run into undead and dead mortals whose cards will decline at the ferryman due to insufficient balance. Each of the hubs have 3 main quest realms and 2 optional realms. At the end of each realm, you will end up interacting with the god. Some are friendly and are more than willing to support Nicandrios and willingly share their power, but unfortunately most are hostile and need a good spanking. And by spanking, I mean total Olympian death. The game is absolutely full of secrets and things to explore, and I definitely recommend you take your time with this world. So you fight your way to each god, defeat them or reason with them, collect their powers, and proceed to the next god. Eventually you will have a final face-off with Zeus, which is, without any spoilers, absolutely epic. The art style is absolutely incredible. The movement, the animations, the characters, the backdrop is all 100% based on art of ancient Greek pottery, which is so creative. It's just awesome how it manages to perfectly fit into a video game side-scroller. Another thing you might have noticed is that the game has a lot of tits and cocks, which makes perfect sense when you consider the setting. The weapons and armor look very authentic and nothing feels out of place. You can see the pure amount of research and care put into every detail, which makes my history buff turn to history bulge, if you know what I mean. Each realm has its own color scheme and lighting, making every single location distinct and memorable, but still part of the aesthetic. As you get severely damaged, you start getting shatter effects on your screen, as if you're really playing on a piece of pottery that is writing its own story in real time. I can't really voice enough how genius the art style is. The sound design is overall great, the combat sounds are impactful and meaningful, the voice acting is charming and fun to listen to.
I hope Father Cronus cuts off your tiny shriveled manhood.
The soundtrack is it's epic. It's unique and very memorable. The game, of course, still has some indie game jank to it. There are some minor bugs here and there, like one playthrough after I rescued the blacksmith in the starting village. He never spoke to me, so I never got my starting armor. Also, on some occasions, the hitbox misses and you notice weird moments when you're supposed to hit someone and it doesn't count. And finally, there are some very rare crashes here and there. Most negative reviews that I have read, they always complain about the combat, and I know the physics-based combat isn't for everybody, but it's a nice change of pace from all the combo button mashing from most other games like that. The only frustration factor I personally have in combat is back to the fact that you're allowed to carry gazillion weapons on you, so switching between them during a heat of battle can get annoying, but you do eventually get used to it. Apotheon is more than just a game. It's a work of art, both visually and creatively. It was entertaining enough for me to replay it over 4 times, and I would be more than happy to do so again in the future. The game can get pretty lengthy, maybe around like 6 to 8 hours, especially if you're going for 100% exploration, in which case it'll probably go for like 10 to 12 hours. The amount of love and detail put into the game is noticeable at every corner. I really don't want to spoil any more of the game because I do want you guys to give it a try. The game is available on PC and PlayStation Store and is currently sold for around 15 bucks. Thank you so much for watching yet another one of my cringy reviews, and let me know of any other games you want me to take a look at next. Now have a good one, everybody.